Chestnut fires off the Frenzy Plant to my surprise, forcing the final Protect Shield. Potentially the opponent know what I've got in the back. They try to keep Marowak, unable to do so. Chestnut never lets me down. Frenzy Plant removes them from the field of play, and here comes Typhlosion. Ember really not doing the fast move pressure we're all used to seeing, but does make Typhlosion quicker than ever. We invest the first Protect Shield, intentionally throw on alignment, wanting to keep the health and not take the Astonish damage. Thunder Punch removes Corsola from the field of play. Out comes Togekiss and Blink, and you might miss it. Togekiss straight in and straight out. Welcome back to the channel. I'm sure you've seen this team many times previously. This is my personal favourite team I have ever run in the Go Battle League. The team's creator is the one and only No Bonfire Head. Huge shout out to No Bonfire Head and congratulations for winning the 2025 Battle of Spice World Championships. The team was created way back in Season 18 when No Bonfire Head used it to hit Legend rank, going on an absolute crazy 18-2 run. Every single season since then, I've used this team to regain elo when my nonsense ideas have gone terribly wrong and I need to get some wins. However, I looked at the meta this season and thought perhaps it's finally had its day. Chestnut in particular, not looking too hot this season. If you look at what was buffed, Fairy, Flying, Fire and Dragon, 4 things that Chestnut, at least on paper, has 0 play into. However, you haven't got to beat the entire meta. All you've got to beat is what you see. I was watching It's Axon video earlier. I was having my morning coffee. And to quote him, he believes he's the only person currently not with a ground type on their team. And guess what? Chestnut still absolutely shuts their mud slappers down. For anyone that's yet to see the team, this team of course functions as an ABB team where I'm going to be using Drapion to look to bait out any ground types so Typhlosion doesn't have to see it. This team's actually got some surprise tech this season. We've got Thunder Punch on Chestnut. If I see something like a Charizard, Togekiss, any of the flyers, they might not be expecting it, and I can at least hit back to give me a little cheeky get out of jail free card. I'm also testing out Ember as opposed to Incinerate. On paper, I think that's a terrible idea. However, in practice, it actually performs incredible. It makes you so much more flexible. A 2-turn move is so much more user-friendly than that very clunky 5-turn Incinerate. As always, the intro's gone on for far too long, so without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, Chestnut finds its target, staring down Unova Stunfisk, the opponent's save switch into Fearow. This has never been a thing that I've ever had to think about when using this team, and I'm somewhat core broken. Fearow has the perfect coverage for this team, flying a double super effective into my lead and the backline. Not going to appreciate that drill run coverage. Typhlosion does have a slight pacing advantage here, but did I switch quick enough to win the 2-shield scenario? Switch timer, of course, only 45 seconds this season, so I do have that potential to catch out should I need to. Typhlosion fires off yet another Thunder Punch, trying to remove Fearow from the field of play. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. No, trainer. No. Why would you catch on Gyarados? What on earth did that Gyarados ever do to you, trainer? If you're going to catch out, why would you not catch back onto your lead of Stunfisk, where that move would have been triple resisted as opposed to double super effective? Despite this trainer almost giving me a heart attack, sacrificing Gyarados to the Pokegods, I still need to try and win this battle. Back out comes Fearow. We send out Drapion, tank the drill run, fire off the Equitail. We've got the alignment we want with Chestnut into Unova Stunfisk, and they concede probably the strangest battle I've ever played. In the next battle, we see Corviknight in the lead position. Another, on paper, very problematic Pokemon. This is one of the reasons I'm actually opting for Thunder Punch. I can hit Corviknight for super effective. They can hit me for double super effective. However, Chestnut can actually tank an air cutter reasonably well, and you're never ever really in danger of getting farmed down afterwards. I caught the air cutter onto Drapion, the opponent stays in as they got the boost. When does Corviknight not boost? It's supposed to be a 30% chance, it looks more like 50-50. As the opponent got the boost, Chestnut now no longer has the ability to tank a move particularly well. To be honest, when I sent out this Typhlosion here, I was thinking, when have you ever seen Sand Attack do so much damage? My opponent continues to stay in. Typhlosion, going to look for the full Ember farm down. Before the next air cut has reached, Typhlosion gets the perfect farm down, leaving with residual energy good to go. Out comes Jellicent. And this is why I like Ember. You're now very easily able to run optimal fast move timing as we're on a 2-turn move. We're going to bank a buckload of energy, recognise the opponent's going to be spamming that surf, trying to catch me sleeping. Nah, I've got a plan. Out comes Superior, and this game is still looking dicey. I need to somehow force the final protection off the opponent. You can see that even a resisted Frenzy Plant does do a lot. If the opponent think I've got superpower, they might consider shielding this, and they do exactly that. Chestnut has done its job, and Typhlosion should carry me home. Aerial Ace removes me from the field of play. I wait the turn, ensuring the opponent doesn't make a catch. Blast Burn lands on its intended target. One Ember and the Thunder Punch is reached, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Dedenne in the lead position. Not the worst matchup. Chestnut is probably the fighter that has the best matchup here, as our grass subtype in it does mean the electric type damage is going to be resisted. The opponent tanked the Frenzy Plant. I send out Drapion. The opponent stays in for far too long, fire off the play rough, and end up getting sniped with the Poison Sting damage. Out comes Primeape. I'm really hoping the opponent doesn't look to two-shield this little monkey. Come on, trainer, it's a non-stab Aqua Tail. The opponent does shield the Aqua Tail. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, fire off the Rage Fist, and I am in so much trouble. Primeape is hella glassy. However, I've got literally no fast move pressure on the entirety of the team today. I end up respecting a boosted Ice Punch, get baited with the Rage Fist. That would have been survivable, and I think I've just sealed my own fate. Of course, I can't leave Typhlosion without a shield. I need to try an Ember farm down before they reach 2 further Rage Fists. Is that possible? Ember literally not doing any damage whatsoever. I attempt the shield. Can we farm down before the next Rage Fist is reached? No, we cannot. And Primeape runs through my entire team. GG's that opponent, that one. I certainly didn't go to plan. Heading into the next battle. I lead Chestnut into Corviknight, a pretty neutral matchup. However, of course, as I'm on an ABB team, I'm going to look to catch out of this matchup at some stage. We fire off 7 Vine Whips and the Frenzy Plant for optimal fast move timing. I'm going to throw 1 Vine Whip and attempt to catch the Nightshade onto Drapion. The catch looked pretty good to me. I'm not entirely sure if the opponent has no idea on typings or they saw me coming in. However, Drapion ends up tanking a Power Gem. It kind of is what it is. Little does my opponent know that the team's working as intended. We managed to bait out the ground type, fire off an Aqua Tail, forcing a Protect Shield, and of course we're now going to look to hard punish them with Chestnut. Chestnut going to overfarm, fire off the Frenzy Plant. That will be removing Marowak from the field of play. Or not. Potentially the opponent knows my team, know what's in the back, try to mud slap farm down, but Chestnut does not let me down. Frenzy Plant removes them from the field of play. And I've got Typhlosion with that magical 2 to no shield advantage. The glassy Typhlosion, unfortunately, cannot shield quick moves. With that in mind, I'm actually going to throw on alignment here. Value and health. So we don't take the Astonish damage. Thunder Punch will be removing Corsola from the field of play. Out comes Togekiss, blink, and you might miss it. Togekiss going to be straight in and straight out. Blast Burn picks up the 1-hit KO, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see yet another Corviknight in the lead. As always, we attempt to catch the Air Cut onto Drapion. This time, catch attempt is unsuccessful. However, the opponent does stay in, fire off the Air Cutter, and thankfully this time, they do not get the boost. Drapion is going to return fire with the Crunch, winning charge attack priority. This Air Cutter is still survivable. However, potentially puts me in a range where the opponent is going to be able to sand attack farm me down afterwards. Drapion is still not done. Going to fire off yet another Crunch, forced to Protect Shield, and unfortunately we do get farmed down. I was really tempted to send out Typhlosion and not concede the farm down. However, I think it's more valuable to not switch lock myself unnecessarily. Speaking of which, the opponent actually in turn switch lock their ground type. We bank the Blast Burn, make the pivot into Chestnut. This is definitely a scenario where Thunder Punch is going to be very nice. As long as I can exit this matchup with a Thunder Punch, if that Corviknight re-enters the arena, you're going to hear the words Chestnut is a Corviknight counter confirmed. The opponent ends up shielding their U-Fist, which is a bit puzzling. I guess they're going to look to save it at some point. Speaking of which, there's an attempted catch. Why did you not try and catch on Corviknight? It ends up being the Marshmallow. I'm going to rebank the Thunder Punch and send out Typhlosion. Typhlosion going to overfarm, fire off the Blast Burn. It's going to be hi Wigglytuff, bye Wigglytuff. Remove yourself from my screen. Typhlosion still has the shields high behind. Unfortunately, I don't quite have a Thunder Punch banked. I am going to respect the Air Cutter. Air Cutter would be survivable. However, I've got a shield. I may as well use it. As unfortunately, as much as I joke about it, you can't save him for next season. Thunder Punch removes Corviknight from the field of play. A Stun Fist re-enters the arena. Going to look to dump its energy. Mud Bomb knocks out Typhlosion. Only 1 Vine Whip off the Frenzy Plant. And I have no doubt Frenzy Plant is going to be all she wrote. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, hopefully we don't see Corviknight in the lead position. Oh boy, sorry. Please send me Corviknight as we see Ninetales. I should have just shut my mouth as this is objectively worse. My Drapion save switch is answered by Charger Bug, a Pokemon I got absolutely destroyed running yesterday. Not sure on this opponent's team comp either. You, sir, are ABA weak to rock. Bastion is essentially your dad. Not only that, my opponent's team comp, much like the team comp I ran, is so weak to Mud Slappers as well. Speaking of which, a Mud Slapper enters the arena. Drapion gonna release the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail forced the first Protect Shield, but this game is still looking super dicey. I send out Chestnut. Ninetales re-enters the arena. I attempt a Weather Ball catch onto Typhlosion. Catch attempt unsuccessful. Please bait, trainer. Please bait. Oh my days, I get overheated to the face. Typhlosion just about hangs on. Reaches the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch forces the first Protect Shield. Shout out this opponent, not only running a triple shadow team, but also not messing around baiting. Chestnut re-enters the arena. Fires off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch looks like it does 2 shots. With that in mind, I'm going to shield this move up. Anticipate the opponent resetting their debuff and look to double up, winning CMP in the endgame. However, is that possible? The opponent fire off the rock slide. It looks like we're even approaching a range where Marowak is going to be a Chestnut counter confirmed, which is absolutely heartbreaking. Yet another rock slide gets me low, unable to Vine Whip farm down, unable to double up, and that one does end in heartbreaking defeat. But shout out that opponent, cool triple shadow team, although many dual weaknesses. Heading into the next battle. We see Unova Stunfisk in the lead position. The opponent say switches into Venusaur. Formerly you could one shield and fully incinerate farm down, but Ember of course more for energy generation as opposed to fast move pressure. We full send the Blast Burn on the charge attack priority, forcing a Protect Shield back. Looks like the opponent's going to make a play at taking back switch advantage. The Embers have put him in a range, but even a Thunder Punch will knock him out. Is the opponent going to double shield Venusaur here in the mid game matchup? No, they're not. Thunder Punch removes them from the field of play. I'm going to farm up. Throw this Blast Burn on the charge attack priority, looking to get all the value out of Typhlosion I can. Sometimes blind battles aren't all that complicated. Just maintain alignment and you should be able to win the battle. We've still got the correct alignment. The opponent pivots into Togekiss. I switch quick enough where we are going to be able to outpace at 2 double Aqua Tail before the opponent reaches 2 charge moves. Aura Spear simply does not cut it. 1 Aqua Tail likewise will not cut it, but we're straight 8 turns to each of our charge moves, whereas they take 10. With that in mind, Drapion going to be able to outpace to the second Aqua Tail. Drapion will be moving Togekiss from the field of play. The opponent can have all the energy in the world, but you're literally never ever killing Chestnut. The opponent recognises it and they concede the match. In the next battle, we find ourselves yet another problematic Pokemon. I throw 1 Vine Whip, transfer the Incinerate onto Drapion, and my Drapion save switch is answered by Lapras. An ABA Psychic fast move pressure team is definitely an interesting choice. Another thing you might notice is this team from my opponent currently is ABA Shadow. It's mad to think when I first started making content, I think I went like 4 or 5 seasons before I ever played another trainer on a full Shadow team, and nowadays they're actually quite common. I was forced to Protect Shield in the mid game matchup. The opponent fire off the Sparklet Aria, then pivot into Hypno. We're going to fire off the Frenzy Plant, hoping this goes unshielded and make the pivot into Typhlosion. Typhlosion hits the field of play. I'm definitely shielding this. Okay, massive shield. The opponent full send a Shadow Ball. Can we Ember farm down? Oh, no, we cannot. This is only an Elemental Punch, but it's likely a Thunder Punch, which I will be respecting. Lapras at this point, nothing more than a Sacrificial Swap. So we just need to make sure my charge move lands on its intended target. The opponent tried for a show and go there, but I was never throwing when you had 0 energy. The opponent's catch attempt unsuccessful. They get Blast Burn to the face, Ember farm down afterwards, and I'm able to take that game. If you're wondering why my opponent didn't shield the first Blast Burn, well, I could easily reach double Blast Burn, so the only win con was me throwing the world's most pointless Thunder Punch bait, which is never ever happening in the next battle. We see the world's smallest Wigglytuff. That thing still stinks of placenta. I'm going to be so salty if I lose to the world's smallest Wigglytuff. I say switch into Drapion, and of course the Drapion say switch is answered by a Mud Slapper. Wigglytuff plus Mud Slapper is so common. I'm praying that it's not a double Mud Slap team. We send out Chestnut, and we look to load up on energy. My opponent, interestingly, throw the Water Pulse, potentially meaning they're on Twin Nukes. They're actually running Body Slam. I actually saw a Twin Nuke one yesterday. Did I say I've got some surprise tech? Out comes Charizard. The opponent doesn't respect the Thunder Punch. And just like that, this game is signed, sealed, and delivered. Typhlosion, for those of you that don't know, is actually a clone of Charizard. They have exactly the same stats. Goes to the 1 shield, full Ember farm down. The opponent send out Gastrodon just to get farm down. The Marshmallow re-enters the arena. Typhlosion about to cook it to a crisp. The first Blast Burn forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. There is plenty more of where that came from. Typhlosion sends this baby Marshmallow back to its Pokeball, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see probably the world's worst lead. What do you do if you see this thing? Top left. I'm just kidding. But I'm probably going to end up losing this battle as we are so weak to him. We say switch into Drapion, baiting out Gastrodon. If we can force a Protect Shield in this mid-game matchup, we might be in with a good chance. Of course, I haven't got superpower, but the opponent does not know that. The opponent actually reluctant to shield Gastrodon. Drapion takes back switch. The super spammy Scorpion, still not done, reaches the part in Aqua Tail, which is double super effective, forcing the first Protect Shield of the game. However, we're still in trouble here. How do you beat this thing? Step 1, call the bait, overheat me trainer, I dare you. Nah, that's a Rock Tomb. Chestnut going to fire off 2 Vine Whips and the Frenzy Plant. The opponent might be fearful of a superpower and they invest the final Protect Shield. So with that in mind, I send out Typhlosion and keep the ability to reset this very annoying debuff later on. Typhlosion did have a 2-0 shield advantage, but I very quickly give up a Protect Shield, blocking up the Rock Tomb. I fire off 2 Embers and the Thunder Punch before the opponent debuffed me once again. The opponent continued to stay in. Here I'm hoping the 45-second timer pops up so I can catch out of this matchup. I'm unable to do so. Does a double debuff Thunder Punch remove this snail from the field of play? Yes, it does. The opponent's final Pokemon is Galvantula. I'm double debuffed. Do I need to reset it? Of course I bloody don't. Even at -2, Blast Burn, massive overkill, and somehow we're able to emerge victorious despite seeing one of the worst things for my team. GG to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, after sweating my balls off, we see a fantastic lead. The opponent say switches into Charizard, also running Ember. So as I said previously, these two Pokemon are clones of one another. I can tank an Air Cutter, but you better believe they are not tanking a Thunder Punch well whatsoever. Here I'm actually going to overfarm, and the reason for that is I want to force either both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup or have residual energy good to go. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. The first one, force the Protect Shield. I've actually got an attack-weighted Typhlosion, so this is essentially a mirror match that I should win CMP in. However, I opt to throw 1 turn before and not risk it. Let me correct myself. 1 quick move before the CMP tie, which of course would be 2 turns, as we're both using 2-turn Ember. We take our shield advantage, send out Drapion, the opponent doesn't farm, to the Blast Burn. They fire off the Air Cutter, attempt to catch an Aqua Tail, catch attempt unsuccessful, and we're back where we started. However, if truth be told, we're in an even more commanding position as we've got a 1-0 shield advantage. I was really hoping to Thunder Punch that Charizard to the face, but the opponent doesn't want the smoke and they concede the match. In the next battle, back-to-back Marowak leads. The algorithm like Jamie Finn, you've been sweating, bro. Have an easy time of it. The opponent say switches into Dugong, while Thunder Punch would be super effective. A Blast Burn hits for neutral and does objectively more. Blast Burn lands through 2 Protect Shields. The opponent full send the Drill Run, which is going to enable Typhlosion to get a massive Ember farm down. If Marowak re-enters the arena, it's going to be 1 Ember and the Blast Burn for optimal fast move timing, and this is going to do so much damage. Blast Burn gets no respect. We snipe with Chestnut, you love to see it. Marowak gets sniped and out comes Corsola. Of course, I know this game's signed, sealed and delivered. The opponent doesn't know what we've got in the back, but when they see Drapion, this should be yet another top left. Chestnut isn't even in Nightshade range either. The opponent going to fire off the Nightshade. I'm going to fire off 1 Vine Whip and the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant either does massive damage or forces a Protect Shield. The opponent opts for the massive damage. We pivot into Drapion, and there is said top left as the opponent recognises there's nothing they can do, and they are going to concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Azumarill in the lead position. We started the video off with some tough leads, so as much as I was joking about the algorithm in the previous battle, we've now had like 3 good leads consecutively, as I always showcase my battles in the order I played them, so you really can't complain. If I was still running Incinerate, we'd probably be RPSing this opponent at this point, but you're going to see on Ember we're applying literally no fast move pressure, and the opponent's actually going to be able to double shield and fully sand attack farm me down. Oh, that's kind of brutal. And the opponent leaves with loads of residual energy too. We send out Drapion and look to start sponging this energy, but inevitably the opponent's going to get the boost at some point. I'll be honest, I got so bored of all these Air Cutters, I'm not actually paying attention. We shield up the second Air Cutter. Corviknight already at yet another Air Cutter. This has got to be like the 5th charge move they've thrown. Drapion able to hang on. We fire off the Crunch. Crunch won't quite be lethal, but we'll leave him low. Rather than concede a farm down, we pivot into Chestnut, baiting out Cradily, running Acid. However, we've got such an energy lead, we should be able to outpace to the back-to-back Frenzy Plants. The first one lands, we're able to reach the second one. Cradily going to make a very brief cameo appearance, straight in and straight out. If Corviknight re-enters the arena, which it does, I'm going for the 1 shield, full Vine Whip farm down, and continue to farm up energy on Chestnut. The opponent does get resisted, Vine Whip farm down, just as Azumarill remains. They don't want that work, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle. Dragonair in the lead. To be honest, I got super fortunate. I didn't see too many dragons, but this is somewhat of a problematic Pokemon. It looks like this opponent's opting for Body Slam, as this is too soon to be a Wrap or Dragon Pulse. To actually fire off the Aqua Tail, I bank the energy, make the pivot into Drapion, baiting out the Dedenne, which is a very interesting counter swap to a Poison type. As with most Parabolic Charge users, they shield the first move, buff up their defense with a Parabolic Charge, recognizing when they're buffed up their defense, the second Aqua Tail will do less. Drapion undeterred, gonna fire off the second Aqua Tail. If the opponent look for the full Thunder Shock farm down, which it looks like they are going for, Drapion will reach yet another Aqua Tail and actually force both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup. I send out Typhlosion. Whilst this is potentially a blind play rough, I am going to invest a Protect Shield. I'm going to look for the Ember farm down. If I'm unable to achieve it, we're going to catch the Parabolic Charge back onto Chestnut and look to load up on yet more energy. Parabolic Charge doesn't get the job done. Back out comes Dragonair. I haven't got a superpower, but Frenzy Plant, a busted move, absurd damage, and the opponent looked to dump energy. If I was running Incinerate, I'd definitely be able to Incinerate farm down on Ember. I'm not confident of that fact. It looks like I certainly can't Ember farm down. So I heavily over farm, fire off the Thunder Punch, moving Dragonair from the field of play. The Dedenne is still alive, but nothing more than a sack swap. Out comes Unova Stunfisk. Ember's like a double-edged sword. I would have been able to Incinerate farm down Dragonair, but if I was on Incinerate here, ensuring they don't catch would be quite problematic, as Incinerate is very clunky. On a 2-turn move, I just pause, ensure I see the start of the Thunder Shock animation. I do exactly the same thing again. No catch attempt is made. Double Blast Burn removes the Pancake from the field of play. We Ember farm down to Dedenne, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Azumarill in the lead position. The opponent stays in, try to catch a Frenzy Plant on alignment. I am never throwing that on alignment trainer. 1, 4, and 7 is the way to go. The opponent send out Clodsire. The catch attempt unsuccessful, but stay in school, kids, and learn to count. My Sludge Bomb catch onto Drapion was successful and puts me in a fantastic spot in this matchup. The opponent doesn't farm up to an Earthquake, so potentially they're running Water Pulse that was buffed this season. Although I think if you're going to run Clodsire, Earthquake, it's kind of mandatory. It's just another Sludge Bomb. We tank the damage, fire off the Aqua Tail. The counts for Sludge Bomb are 6, 6, 5. So I recognise it's only 5 poison things to the next one. Throw the Aqua Tail, winning CMP, and removing Clodsire from the field of play. Out comes Cradilly. I'm going to heavily overfarm, fire off the Crunch. The opponent bank their energy and send back at Azumarill. Crunch lands for decent damage, quick switch back into Chestnut, and the Frenzy Plant's already locked and loaded. Frenzy Plant forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. I've got 2 and I'm more than content to match. Of course, Ice Beam and Play Rough will both be super effective. However, the issue for the opponent is they're applying no fast move pressure. My Vine Whips are super effective. We throw the next Frenzy Plant, moving Azumarill from the field of play. Back out comes Cradilly. Any one move, easily survivable. This is likely a Rock Tomb, looking to force an annoying debuff. I'm going to throw this Frenzy Plant, even at -1. Frenzy Plant hits for neutral, and a lot of neutral damage at that. Frenzy Plant forces the opponent's final protection. We can just send out Typhlosion here. We're going to win the race. Before the opponent reaches 2 further Rock Tombs, yes, we're debuffed, but have no doubt, even a debuff Blast Burn that hits for neutral, massive overkill, and we're going to be able to take that game. Heading into the final battle of today's video, we see Gyarados in the lead position. Please tell me they don't respect the Thunder Punch. The opponent going to fire off an Aqua Tail, which is resisted. Aqua Tail, no problem for Chestnut. I think if I overfarm, they're going to respect the Frenzy Plants. This is likely always going to go shielded. I'll obtain said shield advantage and make the pivot into Drapion. Unfortunately, Drapion not going to tank this Aqua Tail anywhere near as good as Chestnut did. Ouch. The opponent then pivots into Gastrodon, and this is why we always pivot out. You always look to bait out any potential ground types, clearing the path for Typhlosion to do its thing in the endgame scenario. It's kind of unfortunate that firstly I'm going to have to shield this and potentially have to dump energy before I Vine Whip farm down, although hold that, the opponent Water Pulse, which should mean we should Vine Whip farm down. Yes, we leave low with all the energy in the world. What re-enters the arena? The opponent thinking about it, opt to send out Shiny Sizzle. We make the pivot into Typhlosion, baiting Gyarados back into the arena. Typhlosion wastes no time, fires off the Thunder Punch, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent overfarm, gonna fire off the Aqua Tail, hoping to confuse my count. I believe they're 4 Dragon Breaths off, so with that in mind, we throw 2 Embers and the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch gonna be massive damage, killing this Gyarados and every Gyarados that's ever entered the Go Battle League. Back out comes Sizzle. Sizzle unable to Bullet Punch farm down Typhlosion, reach yet another Thunder Punch and take that game. GG's to that opponent. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. I always have so much fun shoutcasting and No Bomb for a Heads team. It is without a doubt my favourite team I've ever run in the Go Battle League. The meta doesn't look like it's particularly good for it, but trust me, if you got the balls to run this team, you're still going to pick up so many wins. Do you want to remove Incinerate and opt for Ember on your Typhlosion? Well, that's down to you. I personally love the Ember variant. Yes, the fast move pressure is gone, but I've never really been a fast move pressure orientated player. I personally love energy generation. Having a nice user-friendly 2-turn move still makes it a deadly sweeper in the endgame scenario. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.